Well, we're more than halfway through the year, and it's a good time to look back at recent events in the world around us in general. Self-assessment is what motivational speaker Andy Feld is very good at encouraging others to do. Today, he's going to give us a positive reason to stay on track despite the turmoil in our world. Nice to see you.
Great to be here as always. Thank you.
There is a lot of turmoil in our world right now, you know, plane crashes, war zones, more. So how do you encourage people to stay positive, and how does that affect our personal lives?
Well, I mean, none of us are immune from it. Just, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I'm up hiking in the mountains behind my house with my dogs, beautiful day, and out of nowhere, my mind goes to what's going on in the Middle East, the plane crash, the plane being shot down. So we're not immune to it. I think, though, what we need to do is step back and put it in perspective. You know, for thousands of years, really, on this planet, there's been a degree of violence. You go back to the Romans, the Greeks, the Inquisitions. It's always been here on our planet. And, you know, with the news the way it is today, with the quickness of media, if things get thrown at us so quickly. So what I try and do is just take that step back and take a moment to realize, like today, how many millions, if not tens of millions of people on our planet today are really having a perfectly fine life. You know, they have food, they have clothing, they have shelter, they feel secure. The vast majority, Denise, of people on our planet today are relatively safe and secure. And I think if we step back and just take a moment to
reassure ourselves.
Yeah, and put it in perspective. And sometimes it's important to do that, to be a little selfish about our own feelings and wanting to feel
That's
good.
only healthy. That's healthy. And it is interesting how if we didn't know anyone on the plane crash and we're not anywhere near there, it still can affect us. You're right. So we need to step back and count our blessings and just reassure ourselves.
Yes.
Now let's talk about closer to the home front, because we have our own stresses in life, you know, whether it's relationship, job, work issues, children issues. So how do you encourage people to stay healthy in that way?
Well, you can't get too caught up in their problems. I mean, frankly, who amongst us doesn't have friends who don't have health, financial, or business? I mean, we all know people like that. There's a difference between being compassionate, which is a good thing, and taking on their pain. Because truly, if we're going to help somebody else, we have to be in a good place, don't we? If we take on their pain, then we're not in a place to help them out. So I call it detachment. And there's a way with practice we can learn to become compassionate to the other person, but without being attached to them. And that way, we can offer solutions and we can be helpful to them.
And you made a point earlier that I learned from you quite some time ago. Your kids, and I have two boys, 14 and 11, they actually soak up and watch what the parents do, and they can feel the same emotions that they're going through. So with school starting right around the corner, 2 weeks from now, how do we make sure that our children they're not too stressed to go back to school, but at the same time, the parents aren't overwhelmed?
Well, we realize we're a role model, not just of what we say to them. We can say to them, this is what I want you to do in school, this is how I want you to behave. But we are an energetic role model to them. Are we walking around positive? Are we walking around happy? Are we walking around optimistic? Are we communicating them to that way at home? They feel and sense not just what we say, they feel and sense our own energy. And it's very, very important, I think, as a parent, to set not only physical goals that we want them to attain, but to also be that energetic model, so they can kind of mimic you from an energetic standpoint as well as the other.
And you're a motivational speaker, very compassionate speaker, and it's like that wow factor when we see you on stage. What are some of the topics that people love to hear you talk about? They really connect with you.
Life balance is a big one today. Everybody just is wondering, are they too out of balance? And what I try and say to folks is, when you're looking at your own life balance, don't base it on anybody else. We are all unique. So what's balanced for one may not be balanced for another. There are very happy, content people who work all the time. There are very happy, content people who don't put as much time into the office. What life balance is about is finding out what works for you, and not what some author says, not what some parent says. Parents are great. Parents are great at telling you, you know, you're all out of balance. balance. You're spending way too much time with this or with that. It's time to listen inside and realize that what your balance is may not be.
So what works for you may not work for me. And you may think, man, she just works too much, but it works for me.
Right, and it works for a lot of people like that. So don't let others tell you what your proper balance is.
And what do you think is life happiness? Is there an easy answer to that?
It's not. It's completely different for everybody else. And I like to use the work example. I know a lot of people who are very, very happy and they just work all the time, but it works for them.
What if someone feels stuck? If they're stuck at work, if they're stuck in a relationship, how do they get unstuck?
And that's a great question. To me, number one is you have to take some physical action to move forward. So many people who are stuck are waiting for the perfect solution. The perfect solution, the next perfect relationship, the next perfect job. And as they're waiting for that next perfect solution, they become more and more stuck and more paralyzed. So if you find yourself stuck, work, a relationship, whatever it might be, take some step to get unstuck. Realize that any step you take today doesn't have to be your final step. You can take a step today, and then you can take a different step the following day, and thereafter that. But it's so very important when you're stuck to take some step in another direction.
Right, you've got to build your own happiness in life.
You have to. I mean, it's our responsibility, and becoming paralyzed, you keep giving yourself all the negative self-talk. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like my job, I don't like my partner, and all you do is sit and complain and talk about it, and now you get more stuck, more paralyzed.
It's what you think, it's what you speak, and it's what you feel, you always say.
Well, I always say that. You have to change. If you want to change your life in any way, you've got to change your mind, you've got to change your heart, you've got to change your beliefs, and you have to take some different action. If you're unwilling to do that, it's very unlikely change is going to take place.
That's always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Your books are great. And Andy is a motivational speaker who not only motivates, but he really does educate and encourages. Learn all about the inspiring author online. You can go to his website. It's andyfeld.net. That's andyfeld.net. And you can also find his latest book, We're Tipping Over. That's on his website, too.